At key moments, his instability becomes dangerous. He lashes out, panics, and, intentionally or not, hurts people around him. He even puts himself in harm's way, attempting to end his own life when it all becomes too much. Player 124 is not a villain. He's not a mastermind. He's a man broken by trauma, haunted by his past and barely holding it together. Nam Gyu's presence in the game is a quiet reminder of how fear and desperation can destroy a person from the inside out. In Squid Game Season 3, where cruelty often wins and survival requires a hardened heart, Nam Gyu stands out, not for his strength or strategy, but for his vulnerability. But what if this wasn't fiction? What if Nam Gyu survived the game and was brought into a real South Korean courtroom? Would the justice system treat him as a criminal or as someone in need of help? Could his accidental harm toward others land him in prison? Or would mental illness and emotional breakdown shift the outcome entirely? In this video, we'll explore Nam Gyu's story, his actions, and, most importantly, how South Korean law would handle someone like him. Nam Gyu enters the Squid Game, not with confidence or anger, but with fear. He is socially withdrawn, slow to react, and clearly mentally fragile. Unlike most players who scheme or fight to win, Nam Gyu can barely handle the stress of the arena. His backstory is only lightly touched on, but the signs are clear. He suffers from severe anxiety, emotional trauma, and possibly undiagnosed mental illness. Some fans speculate that he lost a loved one, maybe even a child, and has never recovered. Inside the game, his isolation worsens. While others form alliances, he remains mostly alone, paranoid and on edge. In one of the most disturbing scenes, he reacts violently when startled by another player during Lights Out, striking them in a panic. Later, overwhelmed with guilt, Nam Gyu is found attempting to harm himself. He is not a killer. He doesn't seek violence, but he becomes dangerous under stress. His story raises an important question. When someone breaks under pressure and causes harm, how much responsibility should they bear? Let's look closely at what he actually did and what Korean courts might do in response. Nam Gyu's behavior inside the Squid Game was marked by emotional instability and moments of accidental violence. Here's a breakdown of the key incidents. Accidental assault during panic. In episode 2, Nam Gyu is startled during the night by another contestant moving near him. Believing he's being attacked, he lashes out with a metal pipe, striking the other player in the head. The player survives, but is left seriously injured. Emotional breakdown and self-harm attempt. In a later episode, Nam Gyu is found trying to harm himself using a piece of broken glass. Other contestants intervene. Though he doesn't hurt anyone else in this moment, he threatens to lash out if anyone comes near. Verbal threats. During a supply shortage, he screams at a group of contestants, threatening to end it all for everyone. While no physical attack follows, several witnesses feel unsafe and report him to the guards. Nam Gyu's actions stem not from cruelty or greed, but from fear, trauma, and confusion. None of the harm he causes is premeditated. Still, South Korean criminal law does not excuse harm entirely just because someone is mentally unwell. His case would likely fall under negligent harm, accidental injury, or temporary insanity, depending on how a court views his psychological state. Let's see how these concepts work in real law. Nam Gyu's potential charges would center around accidental injury, mental incapacity, and the psychological condition of the offender at the time. Here are the most relevant legal articles. Article 257. Bodily injury. A person who intentionally injures another shall be punished by up to 7 years in prison, or a fine of up to 10 million won. However, if the injury occurs without clear intent, for example, during a panic reaction, the charge may be reduced. Article 10. Mental incapacity or disorder. If an offender lacks the capacity to discern right from wrong or to control their behavior, they may be considered not criminally responsible. If the person had reduced capacity, the court may reduce punishment. To understand how South Korean courts might judge Nam Gyu's case, let's look at similar real-world rulings involving accidental violence and mental health crises. Case 1, 2011. Panic-induced assault in Daejeon. A man suffering from PTSD struck a stranger in a crowded subway station after experiencing a flashback. The victim was injured but recovered. The court ruled that the man's condition severely impaired his judgment. He received 1 year of probation and mandatory therapy, no prison time. Case 2, 2016. Suicide attempt leading to injury in Incheon. A man attempted suicide by jumping in front of a car, unintentionally causing a crash that injured the driver. Though charged with reckless endangerment, the court acknowledged his fragile mental state and imposed a suspended sentence with psychiatric treatment. Case 3, 2019. Accidental injury. During schizophrenic episode, a man in Busan attacked a co-worker during a hallucination. Though the injury was serious, the court ruled he was unaware of his actions. He was committed to a hospital for long-term care and not imprisoned. These cases all show that intent is everything. If someone acts from confusion or mental breakdown, and if the harm caused isn't fatal, Korean courts tend to reduce or eliminate jail time, especially for first-time offenders with mental health struggles. Nam Gyu's story fits this pattern. He didn't act out of anger or premeditation. He acted from fear and fell apart under pressure. Aggravating factors. He physically injured another contestant. He frightened others with threats and outbursts. He disrupted the safety of the game environment. However, none of these acts were committed with intent to harm. Mitigating factors. Mental health. Clear signs of breakdown and trauma. Lack of intent. Violence occurred under panic, not malice. No criminal history. First-time offender. Remorse. He apologized and tried to withdraw after the incident. Self-harm attempts. Indicated internal suffering, not aggression. South Korean courts take mental illness and emotional trauma seriously, especially if there's medical evidence. Nam Gyu's panic-induced violence would not be seen as criminal in nature, but as a medical and emotional failure. The system would likely respond with care, not punishment. Nam Gyu would not go to prison, based on his mental state, lack of intent, and the non-fatal result of his actions. The court would likely issue a 6 to 12-month suspended sentence, meaning no jail time served. Instead, he would be referred to mandatory counseling, receive mental health treatment, and possibly be placed on probation to ensure public safety. In the eyes of the law, he was not a criminal, just a broken man trying to survive a nightmare. Nam Gyu didn't enter the Squid Game with a plan to hurt anyone. He didn't plot, scheme, or attack with cruelty. He simply broke down. In the chaos of the game, surrounded by fear and violence, his mind gave out. And for a moment, that made him dangerous. But in the real world, the law sees beyond that moment. South Korean courts don't just punish outcomes. They judge intent, mental capacity, and remorse. And in Nam Gyu's case, all signs point towards someone who needs help, not handcuffs. His injury to another player was tragic, yes, but accidental. His breakdown was real. His remorse was sincere. So if he were tried today, he wouldn't be labeled a criminal. He'd be given a second chance to heal. How long would Nam Gyu's prison sentence be? 0 years served, suspended sentence, mandatory care.